What are some examples of dishonoring God with your body? There is such a list. The way you dress. I see these girls that wear these little dinky bikinis and show off everything they got. The alcohol, drinking, drugs, whatever. But a lot of times language, I'm trying to preach the Word of God, and I'm cussing up a storm in the middle of church, and I've kind of gotten after somebody for that.
I said, nobody's perfect.
Yeah, but, we're to set an example. And when we go around acting like we're all that, we're not. Saw a movie last night. Granted, it had to do with the Greek gods. It was the Titans. And this woman, I guess she was empress or, some big person in the city. And she started going on about how the gods need us, and we're just so wonderful, and they would not survive without us, and so we're better than they are, and so we are like gods. And it's like all hell broke loose. I mean, the people were dying, they were being thrown everywhere, and you just don't mess with that. We're supposed to set an example of God. We're not supposed to be God. God created us. And for that we should be thankful. He's helped us, and we need to set an example of what His people are. And acting like a bunch of wildcats is not a very good example.
Kids in particular. Actually, not, I don't want to say it because one of mine has done it to an excess, I think. But the other ones are starting to grab more of them. The point, to me, of points of it, disgracing the body and stuff like that, I feel tattoos disgrace the body. It's just something it's just my thoughts. I know a lot of other people don't agree with me on that, but that's my biggest thing is I feel you're disgracing God. Because we were made in God's image. God didn't have tattoos. But we really don't know. Tattoos, we don't know. All the pictures that have been portrayed of Him, He's not, and blemishes are not on His skin, for tattoos and stuff like that. That's where I'm coming from on that. I'll put it this way: I see some of the bands, even some of the Christian bands, that the harder rock ones that David listens to and stuff like that. I've seen some of those guys, in Skillet and POD and stuff like that. They got tattoos all over the place, but to me, it's still not. I still think you're defacing your body when you have the tattoo.
I could argue that point. And keep in mind, I don't have a tattoo on me because I'm scared to death of needles. But like you mentioned Skillet, POD, people like that. Some of the people in those groups weren't always Christians.
No, I know that too.
Like the lead singer of Skillet. From what I know, and forgive me if this is wrong, the tattoo on his arm that now says forgiven said something else starting with an F. And he redid the ink to where it said forgiven. It all, in my opinion, it all depends on the generation you're trying to reach.
I am somewhat of agreement, but I'm just saying, I have to look at I'm looking at it from my generation, and I look at the kids, Adam is the one that came when I said to me he's gone excessive, and he's still talking about doing more. In fact, but I agree with David on generational. It's a generation type thing. But it's my mindset. I may be totally off on it, but I'm just saying. That's why I said it's from me, my mindset on that.
And see, that's the good thing is one thing God allows us each to have is our own mindset. If I could get a tattoo, if I could figure out a way to get a tattoo without it killing me, I probably would. Because of the fact, I would want a tattoo that shows where I've come from to where I am now. I'm not going to go into it because it's on camera, but you two both know my personal history.
That's an interesting subject, just tattoos alone there. If you go to Sam Jack's Mom on YouTube, you'll see a series of videos that I did. It's called My Colorful Kids. All of our kids, and there's a couple of extras in there, all of our kids have tattoos on them.
Except us.
Yes, except you two. And the point was the thing. I did some history checking, and I've done a lot of research on tattoos. Dad is right in one aspect, is that there are some people who put on tattoos, and oh my gosh, what they have on there. I know of one who had a skull with crossbones and marijuana thing. It was horrible. And there's others even worse than that. It was just a nightmare to one of those tattoos. And what it was showing what was really in their heart. And it was just pure evil. But a lot of time, and that's just it. A lot of times when people do tattoos on their person, they're showing what's in their heart. And some of them can be kind of scary. Some of it's tradition. I know in the Hawaiian Islands, they tattoo the daylights out of their person. And it's a show of manhood or something like that. There's I don't know of a place in the world where they don't have some form of tattoos and how they go about it. But there are some people, a lot of people, who do tattoos, but they're telling a different story. There's a guy who was in the war, and he had pictures of some of the things that happened there, and different symbols represents different love guys that he just were buddies with, and they died in the service. All of my kids, if you look at the videos, it shows what kind of persons they are, what they've been through, that kind of thing. Now, grant you, Adam had something like 22 tattoos, something like that. And his eventual goal is to have like 90% of his, is that right? About 90% of his body covered in tattoos. And grant you, I love Adam. There's a couple that bother me, but the rest of them was obvious. Like he's had a broken heart, and he's had all kinds of stories that's going on in his life, and he's just dealing with things as he can. Tonight, I just got on the check my email real quick, and Michael has a new one. Sent me a tattoo. Now, when Michael was born, I named him after the Archangel Michael, and who is a protector, a warrior, right hand of God type of thing, and go for the battle type of thing, and I wanted my son to be protected, and I also wanted him to be a protector, which is why I called him Michael. Tonight, he sent me an email with a picture of a tattoo that he has on his arm. And it has Archangel Michael with a shield and a sword, or a spear thing, and he's standing on top of the devil. And the devil's all splayed out like, this is not going to be a good day. And I love it. It was just like, it was a very strong statement of his what's in his heart. It's like I want to be the right hand of God. I'm going to be a protector, and what's evil is going to be stopped. And